Blog Talk Radio.
My fabulous, magical tribe of beautiful people. Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Magical Universe with Sharonah. Woohoo! And this is your magical mama, Sharonah Rapseik. And I am coming to you live from the Big Apple, New York City. I am so happy that you are joining me today, where I am staying safe inside, just like all of you, no doubt. And I like to think of what we're doing is that we're kind of like caterpillars. And you know how a caterpillar goes into a cocoon or a chrysalis, and when the time is ready and it's safe to come out, you come out as a butterfly and you spread those beautiful wings. So that's how I'm kind of thinking about all this. I am using this time to grow and become strong. Now, this show is all about creating magic and miracles in all areas of our lives by using angel guidance and the divine conscious energy of the magical universe that we live in. Now, this show is brought to you by Psychic Talk Radio Network, and that is the radio network with spirit and psychic you. So please, when you get time, visit www.psychictalk.net to learn more about our past and upcoming radio shows, our hosts, and also as well as our online courses that we offer at Psychic You. This show is also brought to you by the IAAP, that's the International Association of Angel Practitioners, the very first worldwide organization that was formed to educate, celebrate, and support spiritual practitioners and entrepreneurs around the world. So, when you get time, please visit www.angelpractitioners.com to learn more. And finally, this episode is also being sponsored by the ARE of New York City, a nonprofit organization formed by a core group of service-oriented volunteers, all inspired by the work of America's psychic, Edgar Cayce. To learn more, go to www.edgarcaycenyc.org. And that's Edgar Cayce with the Cayce spelled CAYCE, followed by NYC. Magic Universe with Sharonah is a live call-in radio show where we talk about such topics as angels, crystals, energy healing, tarot and oracle cards, the cycles of the moon, holistic healing, the laws of attraction, and especially maintaining good vibrations, and much more. Magic Universe is on the air live, always on the second and fourth Sunday of each month. You can listen to our show here on psychictalk.net live on your internet browser. And you can listen on your phone too by simply calling in, which reminds me, this is a live call-in show. And if you would like a free tarot mini reading, an angel message, ask a question, or also add your thoughts and comments to today's topic, or even just to say hello, the number to call is 714-816-4628. Once again, that's 714-816-4628. 4628 to listen. But remember, if you want us to answer your call so that you are live on the air, you must press the number 1 on your keypad, and this will flag us on the switchboard. And we do take calls in the order that they are received, so don't hang up because you will lose your spot in the queue. And you can also go to www.thetarotguild.com/chat. And what you want to do is you want to join the Tarot Guild website. It's free to join. And at showtime, you can go to there and leave a message in the chat room. Oops, I'm not in my usual place, and I got a phone going off, so let me just kind of mute that phone. Okay, on today's show, we have a very special guest, and she is one of my favorite people. Her name is Mary Brown, and she is the host of both There's a Rock for That and Tarot Today shows on Psychic Talk Net Radio. Now, she is an angel healing practitioner, and she's the Crystal Reiki Master, accredited by the International Association of Therapists, and she's a Tarot Guild certified Tarot Master. Now, Mary Brown lives in Texas, where she teaches angel card and tarot reading, and you can reach her for readings and bookings via our email, mary@psychictalk.net. And she's back with me for a second time, and because everyone wanted to hear more of what Mary offers. So, woohoo! Welcome, Mary Brown. How you doing?
Good. So happy to be here. Happy Easter, Sharonah. Happy Easter, everybody.
Yeah. And, you know, when you were here the last time, we talked about crystals, but we realized that you had only scratched the surface. There are other ways that you can use your crystals. And today I am looking forward to you telling us more about crystal grids. What exactly are crystal grids?
What are crystal grids? Well, you know what it is? It's like it's a structure that you create. I think it's many faceted. Get it? I like to say that the crystal grids are many faceted because not only are you creating an interesting structure. You know, a lot of times these look like geometric structures. You can do it in any form that you want, but the reason that you create a crystal grid is either to shift the energy in a space, like maybe your living room or your bedroom, in a way that, you know, supports you, where you feel supported, where it kind of feels like it lifts a vibration. Other thing about it too is that it's not just, you know, creating a shape using crystals, but it's also the crystals that you use, you know. So it's a very I'm going to say it's a really terrific mindfulness exercise because you're so mindful of everything around you, because you're looking for those shifts. So, you know, people create crystal grids for different reasons. You know, in crystal Reiki, I utilize crystal grids a lot. You know, if I'm seeing somebody in person, I have one that I will set up specifically for that person based on just what I'm reading energetically that I think will benefit them. While we do, you know, a Reiki session, I use them a lot for distance healing, because that's what's great about crystal Reiki is the way that it does distance healing. That's why it's like my favorite thing, because it's like you can create a grid for someone based on, you know, what it is that they're concerned about, if they have concerns, or what they're looking for, if they just want like a boost in energy, or if they want to feel more of a sense of security or help with certain situations. So you choose the crystals you choose the shape that you're going to lay these crystals out in. You infuse it with Reiki, and you send it to that person. But what's great about crystal grids is you can take a picture of it and send it to the person. And so that any time that they, they're going through their daily life or whatever, and they're like, oh, I could really use, a boost, or they can like pull up their phone and look at the picture. And, crystals are like other things in that you don't have to have the physical crystal in your hand to connect with its energy. You can look at pictures of it. That's why crystal oracle decks are so popular and so effective, because looking at the crystal, because you're not just needing to have like the physical thing in your hand. So I love crystal grids. You can put them everywhere. You can really use your creativity as well when you do them.
Wow. They kind of remind me of sacred mandalas, where it's,
yes.
You make a design with them. And I know that it's based on sacred geometry, the shapes of them.
Yeah.
So how do you decide on how you're going to lay everything out? Do you have an idea in your head, or you just kind of go with the flow?
Well, it's a combination of intention and intuition, like so many things. Depends. Like sometimes there will be a shape that I feel just very strongly about. I can give the example of a friend of mine who was getting ready to travel and was kind of worried. It was, it was going to Egypt when things were like still pretty unsettled there after the recent, Arab Spring and civil unrest that had taken place. So, my friends, it was two of them going. They were kind of nervous about it, and like, can you do something? Can you send me Reiki? Can you, do something? You know how you get that feeling like I need a little extra, people. And I said, sure. Why don't we do some distance crystal Reiki, and I'll make a grid for you for protection, and I'll send the photo to you. And who knows? Who knows how things happen or what would happen anyways, right? But, I did that, and he, told me not only that, was that helpful to have that to look at, but also that everything went like so smoothly, like got bumped up on their flight to first class. Everything got a taxi immediately everywhere they wanted to go. So, I just like to think that there's a little extra oomph that we're putting into it, and I think a lot of times that happens intuitively. But like for that kind of protection grid, the first thing that came to mind to me was to do a six-pointed star, and using tiger eye. I think I used some red jasper. I used a lot of quartz to amplify and interconnect, and what I also, this is another intuitive thing that came to me, right? Because that's how it works. It's like, you can read a book about it, you can take a class, and it's like, okay, and you look at the sacred geometry symbols and, choose ones that would kind of connect, even if it's just a circle, a circle represents unity and completeness. So you don't have to be an expert on sacred geometry. I can tell you that I did try to do the flower of life, and that's a lot of crystals. So
I can imagine.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, and after a while it's like you get a little dizzy, you get like kind of a little like lofty, like working on that. But, but there's just some basic ones that shapes that anybody can do. You can do a triangle. A triangle on its own is great for protection and manifestation and creation, integration. A square, think of a square as being, when somebody wants a sense of strength or stability, and it can also be used as a protective kind of shape as well. And then there's just a really easy, like the 6-pointed star that I did. It's a hexagram. Great for protection. Great for also balancing energy, and kind of like the above and the below, the heart and mind. It's like a great consolidator. And I don't know. Intuitively, it came to me that that's the one that I should use for my friend. And then what I did on my own, also intuitively, is I got a little round. I have these little round blank wooden discs. I used that, but you could do it with a piece of paper as well. And I've done that for others with a piece of paper, where I wrote their names down on it, and I put it in the center of the grid. Because we're talking about crystal grids, but also for me, in my practice, I expand it out. So it can include flowers, it can include herbs, it can include things that would be symbolic or meaningful for the situation or for the person. So I always feel like, don't be afraid to follow your own inner guidance and kind of make things your own, because that to me is what really puts the magic in it, is that you can feel the energy
Exactly.
of it if you're doing it for someone else,
Yeah. It's all everything's about intention, and just taking that pause and, really thinking about what you want to put out there. I've never really made a crystal grid because I don't have a lot of crystals. I mean, I have crystals, but I tend to have just, one specimen of a particular crystal. But if you were building a collection to do grids, I know a lot of people, they get extra of clear quartz, because that's kind of like the Swiss Army knife. So that you would want to have maybe have that.
I love that.
The other thing too, can you use photographs? I mean, for people who don't have a crystal, could you go online and find a picture of a crystal and then print it out and make a vision board? That's kind of popping up in my head,
I think that's a wonderful idea. You can absolutely use crystals. A lot are use pictures and photographs. You see that a lot with altar work. Where people set up an altar for their ancestors, or maybe even their more closer relatives. And they'll have pictures of them, or maybe like a little bit of tobacco for grandpa, things that are meaningful for that person. So it doesn't really matter how many stones you have, really. You can make kind of any design. You could just take the ones you have and put them in a circle, but you can even use crystal cards to make grids. You can use crystal cards to do body layouts as well.
Yeah, that's a fabulous idea. Yeah. Wow. I didn't think of that, because there are decks with crystals on them.
Yeah. Intention, again, is, and you got to, like, I always feel like the number one thing is that you believe in what you're doing, because I feel like anytime I've sort of tried at something or thought, okay, I'm going to try this thing, blah, 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 and didn't really care, it never really panned out, and what I've discovered is the more that I believe in what I'm doing, and I think it's true for everyone, the more effective what they're doing is going to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really like you're creating an altar. That's how I think of it, and an altar is really something that it's something to focus on. So when you do a crystal layout, you are creating an altar. And no matter how you do it, if you want to do it with actual crystals or even make a vision board with crystals.
Yeah.
But what's so cool, though, if you can do them with actual crystals, they're so powerful. They're so alive that I'm always amazed that people think they're just rocks, but they vibrate at a different frequency, but they are very much alive, and they have auras and all of those things going for them.
Oh,
you know, one of the things someone wanted me to ask you about before I forget is about crystal divas, which is like like the fairies of crystals. And if you could just, fill us in a little bit on that would be great.
Right. So it's crystal devas, kind of like the crystal fairies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I always think of fairy as a very general term, right? Because it can manifest in a lot of different ways. It can be like a lot of different kinds of beings that we're talking about under the umbrella of fairies. And deva is connected to crystals. It's like a lot of nature spirits. It's the spirit of the stone. What's interesting about it is that it's not like if you have 5 pieces of labradorite, say you have 5 different tumbled pieces of labradorite. It's not like each one of those has an individual deva, but that there is a deva that oversees all labradorite that you can connect to. So they're kind of like oversouls of these different types of crystals. But really, to me, this goes even deeper than the crystal, because when you think about it, there's a missing element to that concept, because there's a lot of stones that are mixtures, and what is it that's changing these stones? Why do we have all these different kinds of stones? Well, it's the chemical makeup in them, and what minerals they contain. So I feel like it's more like there's devas over the minerals, okay, that are really what we're connecting to. So I think it's sort of like when you think of the 9 choirs of angels, I really feel that like crystals have a similar thing going on in their deva realm. Where there's a lot of overlap and there's a few different layers to it. But ultimately, I think what we want to know is, like, how do we to that energy? Is it like trying to talk to angels or fairies or, plants? There's a lot of people into plant spirit medicine out there. Shout out. And the thing I think is like its intention and its sincerity. It's like, don't just try it. Like, really get to the point where it's like, I'm all in. I'm all in. Hello, labradorite. Like, please, here's the situation. Like, talk to your to the spiritual realm, especially the nature spirits. Be down to earth is what I like to say, right? Because they're our earth companions. We belong in the same world together, and that's what I think makes the relationships so easy and flexible. So we get the energy of a crystal, even if we don't even realize we're around a crystal. It's like it's on and there for you. People wear crystals all the time that aren't into crystals. They're like, they may even think it's something else, but they're still benefiting from it. So it's not like there's no dogma, really.
Yeah, well, I think, there was a program on TV the other night about the gems that the royal families own. And there was a reason why they owned them. It wasn't just to kind of show off and have, gorgeous bling. They understood that there was a power to that stone. And it could be everything they were talking about. There was, the diamond, the Kumadour, I think it's Kumadour diamond, which is in the crown that the queen wears, and its history. And then they got into, it doesn't have to be a fancy stone. They were talking about the stone of Scone, which originally came from Scotland. But you're not, you can't be a monarch of England unless you sit on it. And it looks like, it looks like a big old gray rock. So, I want to give a shout out. You don't have to get the fancy stones. You can kind of go out in your yard and get stones that a little pebble that you find in your backyard can be as helpful as, a big, amethyst stone that you buy. Yeah. But it's amazing that the royal family, they're, and not just, for centuries, not just the European ones, but all around the world.
Yeah.
If you look at whether it was in Egypt or, in the Americas, they were into stones. So pretty,
always. Even like prehistoric burial sites that they find. They will find like certain gems buried with people and certain metals too. So there's always been this connection, and it's really stretches way back to antiquity and possibly before. We're still discovering all kinds of stuff about our cousins, the Neanderthals, and the things that they did. They made string. Did they make jewelry with it? It's kind of like it's our birthright, I think, to work with stones and all the great. This is what gets me though about skeptics, right? Because at one point you mentioned some people might think, well, that's just a rock, but the thing is, what gets me about skeptics is like nobody has a problem if you quote. A legendary figure from antiquity. You can quote Pliny the Elder. You can quote Socrates, Aristotle. That's fine. But what they never quote are what those people said about the power of crystals, because they said a lot about it. You know what I mean? So I feel like, okay, if we trust, Plato on, morality or something, shouldn't we also trust what he had to say about crystals? Like that's how I look at it a lot of times, and that's why you have the stone of Scone and a lot of these other important stones all over the world is because they were important for hundreds, thousands of years.
Yeah, it's something that resonates with everybody, and. I always tell people you got to go into a crystal store. It's kind of like, it's almost like I laugh. I go and say it's almost like going into a pet store. You're going to pick out a puppy. Which one calls to you? And putting your hand out there, and they will. Well, for me, the whole store is calling to me.
Exactly.
But,
it's funny. I went to. My husband and I took a trip to Tucson a few years ago, and I hung out with Dax and his partner. And they took me to this crystal store in Tucson that I almost fell over. I literally felt faint. I had to step outside. It was like overwhelmingly awesome. Big, huge slabs of rose quartz everywhere, and just it's amazing.
Yeah, you could. Well, here in New York, we have a street that's called the Diamond District, and the energy is different on that street because there's just, billions of dollars worth of diamonds there, in these nondescript buildings, and there are people walking around with them in their pocket, because they exchange them with each other and everything, and there is an energy to that street. You can feel that there is something going on there more than just your usual commerce.
No, I bet.
Yeah, and I once had someone. He was from a family that was from one of the diamond merchant families, and they have it's not just about business. When they really when they tune in to what that diamond is, and its energy, and a lot of respect they have for it. Not just something that you sell. It's they actually care about who that stone will go to. Not and even say that person they didn't have the right amount of money exactly, but I let them have it rather than to give it to someone who was willing to pay more because I felt they needed that diamond. And I thought that was that's really powerful that you would think that. Is there a way that you recommend as far as do you dedicate your crystals in any way? I mean, when you bring them home, is there a way that you prepare them for your work?
Yes, there is, and look, I'll share with you, a few things that I do, but really, I want to say, there's no real wrong way to do it unless you're using a substance like, say, salt or water. That you have to know, if your crystals, should be put in water. Like selenite, don't put it in water. There's so some people that want to cleanse by just running, cold water over their stones, that'll work for clear quartz. That'll work for a lot of stones, but there's some that it could damage, and the same with salt. Salt can be, salt is, kind of a harsh compound, in a sense. That's why it's so cleansing, right? But, there's certain stones that you don't want to put in salt, but what I do kind of avoids all of that, and it's really simple. One, I'm someone who, for some reason, when it comes to sage, using white sage, I
love sage.
Don't use it. I like it, but I don't use it a lot. I use it when I'm doing a serious, full-on, all-house cleansing and blessing. I'll use it for that, and I'll use sweetgrass for that. But otherwise, the one incense that's always just, it was mine for the first time I sniffed it. It's like you get that scent, and it's like, oh, this is me, for everything. And I use incense to cleanse my stones when I first bring them home. I run them through dragon's blood. That's my incense. It's very purifying, and it just is always made me feel this sort of oomph. I don't know why that is, but you're the aromatherapy lady. Maybe you can tell me why that is. But that's what I do. I bring them home. I do that. Also, I have a basket of tumbled stones, right? And in that, I have carnelian. I have selenite. I have citrine. I have a great mixture of stones, several of which cleanse other stones. And so I'll take my new stones and I'll just give them, I call it give them, it's their spa day, where they just sit in this basket of all this other wonderful energy, all these cleansing and supporting crystals, and I leave that for a day. And then after that, I might, just set them on an amethyst cluster if you have one. But other than that, that's usually just the basic that I do when I bring home new stones before I work with them.
Right. So you don't feel that you have to. There's not a cleansing process that you do. You just. Well, yeah, I guess a spa treatment's a cleansing treatment.
Yeah, that's first the incense. I feel like that's the cleansing of them, running them each stone through the incense, and then letting them have their spa day in my basket of crystals.
That is so cool. I love that.
It's fun. I also feel it is like adopting a puppy. So I feel when I bring a stone home, that it needs to know that, it's going to have a fun place with a lot of like cool friends to hang out with. That's how I think of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. For someone who is just getting into crystals, what are there any particular stones? I know we talked about clear quartz being kind of the Swiss Army knife that you could use for everything. Are there other ones that you could recommend?
Yeah,
Start out?
absolutely. And the thing I would also say about clear quartz, if you're interested in doing crystal grids, is to, usually it's pretty inexpensive. Get a few. Get a few like tumble pieces. Get a few crystal points. They don't have to be double terminated. If they're single terminated, that's great. Because anytime you do a grid, especially if you're doing a grid for like energy healing, or you have a room that you just want to like put some positive energy into in your house, you want to have those points pointing outward. So it's like pushing the energy out rather than inward towards the center of the grid, where it would be pulling what's in the room into the grid. So you can kind of,
that's a good point.
It's great. Yeah, it's great to have, either double terminated or single terminated crystal points. Double terminated is great if you want like circulation and a back and forth kind of flow. It's great for conversation if you're having friends over, conversations, hang out. It keeps the energy flowing. But that's always great. So, clear quartz in, a few different varieties, just little round tumble pieces. Clear quartz is like a whole like world unto itself, and you think about it, that you could get giant pieces, you can get little tiny pieces. Any little teeny tiny piece is great. Another thing that I like to do with clear quartz is I keep a clear quartz inside the box or bag of every single deck that I work with, that I consider my working decks. And I program it, because that's another thing great about clear quartz. It's programmable. You're setting the intention that piece of quartz will keep my decks cleansed and charged. Just mentioning about, we were talking about cleansing, charging, that's what I do with clear quartz as well. That's why I have several little pieces I keep in the bag with the cards, so I don't have to, lose my cards outside in the moonlight or whatever,
Yeah.
And the other thing.
Yeah, I know a lot of people stick them outside. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not doing that with my cards. But another thing I would say, like, have a stone, for like every color of the rainbow in a sense when you think about it. And so you're kind of using the idea of the 7 main chakras. I like the 9 main chakras is kind of how I think of it, because I think it's important to have, some work with the soul star and with the earth star chakras, above our head and below our feet. But, and so, clear quartz would be great for the crown chakra. Could also use that for the above the head, the soul star chakra. And then, when you get into the third eye, there's a lot of interesting different stones. But, you can use amethyst, because you're thinking, this is the violet ray. And so stones that are purple or indigo, because indigo is kind of, really the color you're kind of trying to get. And so your lapis lazuli, trying to think what else. I want to say, tanzanite. Some of these stones, they do start to get expensive. So I try to recommend stones that are, mainly easy to find and not that, not that expensive. But, so purple or indigo colored stone for the third eye, and then for the throat chakra, something like sodalite or blue quartz, one of your blue stones, blue fluorite, even if you can find it, that might be a little more rare. And then the heart chakra, pink and green. you know. So you think of the healing,
Yes.
and you also think of the love with that. Rose quartz, green aventurine, green fluorite, you know, a lot of, you know, different wonderful green stones, moss agate even, that could be used there. And then you want a yellow stone for the solar plexus chakra. So citrine or yellow jasper. There's a lot of great, you know, golden healer quartz if you if you want to get fancy, you know, it would be great there. And then, you know, from there you go to your belly chakra, you know, and so you've got orange. Carnelian's great for that. You can use tiger eye. It's got that gold brown. Tiger eye is an interesting one, really great for any of the lower chakras. You got the gold bands and the dark browns in it. It's very empowering, very protective energy. Tiger eye is great to get if you want to. You want to have tiger eye on hand. I can't imagine life without tiger eye. And then, you know, but other orange stones, carnelian, you can find different, like tangerine quartzes too. And then I love red jasper. I think that's a pretty common stone to be able to find. Great root chakra stone. And then, you know, you get down after the root chakra when you get into like between the feet, the earth star chakra, our darker stones are black and brown stones, you know, black obsidian, black tourmaline, pneumite. You know, there's a lot of different stones. So basically, I think you don't have to be an expert. You can just kind of go by those colors. I think selenite is also a terrific one. You know, you can have, like I do clear quartz on the crown chakra and selenite for the soul star chakra. And I usually do black tourmaline for the earth star chakra. Or I might use like a Moki ball or a Shiva lingam even. Is great, you know, because you know what's great about Shiva lingam, if you can get like, you know, pieces that are like kind of decent size, like I would say at least 4 inches, and you get 2 of them, and you take your shoes off and you sit in a chair and just roll your feet on the Shivas,
Oh, wow.
you know, on your carpet. It is so grounding, centering. You just feel like everything just comes into place, and you're just one. You know, it's a lovely thing to do.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That you need 9 colors. So you would need like a black stone, a red stone, an orange stone, a yellow stone, a green stone, a blue one, a purple one, and a clear one. I stopped counting. I think that's like 9. But
and
so
then
that would be your first aid
selenite.
kit. And selenite, yes.
Selenite stick. You cannot, you know, you don't want to be without a selenite stick if you're getting into crystals. That's what I feel.
Oh, that's one of my faves. I love to hold it in my hands to clear my aura. You know, you can get little tiny, you know, what's cool about selenite is it grows in like these wand-like shapes. So when you see it naturally, it's in these sticks. And just to get 2 little sticks, 1 for each hand, and if you sit and you hold them in your hand for a few minutes, you'll feel all the yuck and stuff coming off from your aura and everything you've absorbed. And then you can just simply clear them because you don't want put selenite under running water because it is water soluble. You just tap on it with your fist 3 times, and I like to picture that all that dark energy is just flying off, you know, like shaking out your carpet. But selenite. Oh yeah. You gotta have that one, and I guess rose quartz too. You need like a pink stone.
Oh yeah. Everybody should have rose quartz. They really should.
Yeah, and
because
it's so I love
supportive.
Yeah. Well, that's the heart.
Just to say, it's so supportive. Yeah.
I love having like a little. I have a little heart that is out of rose quartz, and you know it is just you can just kind of rub it on your heart. I just grab it in my hand and
Yeah.
massage it on my heart, and I go, wow, that's great stuff. Yeah, yeah. So I guess those are the main ones. So, but that's a good way to look at it
Yeah.
with the colors, and then you could then just accumulate points and
Yeah.
clear quartz. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think that it doesn't have to be like a big and expensive endeavor. You don't have to get like the latest stone, which is kind of funny to me because, right, most of these stones are like millions of years old, and yet we discover like new varieties, and now they're like the latest stone, even though they've clearly been around for a while. But a lot of those become like expensive, and so it doesn't. You don't have to try and buy the Hope Diamond here. Little clear quartz pieces, are usually, like I usually find them for like 50 cents
Yeah.
a piece.
Yeah, one day I had to go to that Tucson show, though. I mean,
Oh,
the fact
yeah.
that you were able to, that must have been so powerful to be walking around with all those crystals that are in one place.
Yeah, well, just the shops in Tucson are like that because I didn't go during the gem show. So I can't imagine. I have friends that go there every year, and a lot of people go to, stock their shops, because crystals go through trends, It's like I was talking to a friend of mine, Paul Miller, who he's the one that created the I Am Oracle and the Revelations Oracle decks, and he has a spa salon where he sells a lot of crystals and essential oils and different things there in Sacramento. And even he was talking about how overwhelming it is, how amazing it is at the gym show, and he always brings back these gorgeous specimens. And I'm like, man, I want that because you see stuff all the time. But we were talking about Larimar, which is a beautiful blue stone, right? That only has been found around the Dominican Republic, right? The specific variety of it, and it's also known as spectrolite. Beautiful blue with these white like bubbles in it, these little white circles, and
Oh, wow.
now there's like a darker blue variety. But we were talking about, having decent pieces of Larimar that we got before it was cool. Because once it becomes cool, the price goes up. And now Larimar, you can find it, but the really nice, colorful pieces are, through the roof. So that's something to kind of keep an eye out, varieties of crystals that the prices will just kind of blow your mind if you're just getting into it, and that they're no more important to be able to work with crystals to have those expensive ones than it is to have the inexpensive ones, and even use, like you said, the stones of the land that are around you, your home stones, your home body stones.
Yeah, we just had a shout out. Someone, Dax, put up something. He said, "What about labradorite? It expands." So we need to give a shout out to that stone, labradorite. That beautiful. I mean, that's like a rain. Labradorite. I never can say it right. Yeah, that's a very powerful one indeed. I one of the things that when I used to travel a lot, I used to collect stones from different countries when I would travel with, there, and then, put them in my collection and, say, oh, that's a little bit of Ireland there, that's a little bit of Scotland. Of course, it was funny coming back when you would come back and through customs, and they would say, have you been any place, you haven't brought back any soil or anything? Because I also was bringing back dirt, too, because people would say, oh, I want some dirt from Ireland. So I was like mixing them in with my cosmetics, and Probably if they looked at my bag, they would go, "My goodness, what is this girl doing?" But I could say, "Yeah, I do skincare, and it's mud for
Yeah,
putting on my face." Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I do the same thing to an extent. Like I have, I and I think that we all do it in our own ways. We just don't always do it with like natural things, like the dirt or like the stones. I remember when the wall came down in Germany. I got a piece of the wall because I was living in Germany at the time. And when I was in the army, and when my unit went to Saudi Arabia for Desert Storm, everybody brought back these little vials of the Arabian desert. So
Wow.
it's like there's always meaning that we can find in the world that we live in the natural world, that I think is no less important than our our more man-made items, that we hold dear. And again, it's all about meaning and intention and how it makes you feel, and like some of those things sometimes you might want to include inside your crystal grid. Like if you have ancestors from a certain place, right? It's great to work with rocks that come from those places where your ancestors lived. I have a piece of Priscilla bluestone, a few pieces of that I work with to connect with my ancestors, with my Celtic ancestors. And so a lot of these stones, it's great. All the information these days is free on the internet. You can find no shortage of sources and no shortage of information on the background of stones, what they mean, their chemical composition, their crystalline structure, all of those things. So you don't do it. You don't have to go to school for it. You don't have to be an expert for it. You can use the stones around you or that you're drawn to. You can read up about them with, we're all in quarantine, so it's a great way to spend an afternoon is how I look at it.
Exactly, yeah.
Using the stones from your travels, what if you wanted to send love to one of the places you want to be in? You happen to have like a stone or some dirt from there. You want to include that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, wow. Pretty amazing stuff. Yeah, wow. We usually, I know that we usually talk about what cycle the moon is in, and I know that you had drawn a card of the day, and I pulled a card of the day, so I know that our listeners, they always want to know these things. So I think you had posted there was an oracle card, which I thought was really powerful, up on the Tarot Guild site. So I'm sure our listeners would like to know about that.
Oh yeah, it's on our Psychic Talk Radio Network group on Facebook. If anybody hasn't joined our Facebook group yet, they should. It's really cool. We have a lot of fun in there, I think, and that's a great way to kind of keep up with what's coming up on the air, what the hosts are up to. But I put a card of the day in there every day, and the card for today is really just kind of one of my favorite decks is from the Gateway Oracle cards by Denise Lynn, and the message is rising above. I see only beauty and grace. And I just felt like, what better day to, and really it can be any day. Just pick a day where you're going to say, today I'm rising above. I'm rising above everything that's weighing me down. I'm rising above my personal worries and concerns, and I'm going to look above me and look around me and only see that beauty and that grace. And I think if we just take one day, whether it's today or a different day, to do that, I think that it's a message of hope, and it's a message of optimism when we can see the beauty and grace around us.
Yeah. Well, we are magnetic. So what you've always tell people, what you focus on, you're going to see more of it. So, hey, it's very simple. Focus on what you want to see, and the universe will give you more of it. And the card that I just use like my regular tarot deck, and it was very interesting. It's been coming up a lot, and it came up today. Is the card the Wheel of Fortune, which is about change, and the wheel is always turning, and that change happens, but it always goes to the positive side. So I always say when I get this card comes up, it's a change in direction that brings happiness and a time for positive change. So it's certainly something that I think the whole world is looking for. And we are coming off of a full moon, and full moons are really interesting because the energy gets particularly dense. It kind of concentrates whatever is going on cosmically and, group conscious-wise. So there was a full moon, and you could feel the energy was kind of heavy, but it's moving into its waning cycle, where it is, if you think of the moon as being a big round ball, it's becoming like a little mouse is eating the cheese, and it's getting smaller. So I think we can look to the moon and say we can picture it as a focus where the challenges that we have been experiencing in the past week or so, we can kind of let the moon, as it gets smaller, we can picture those things shrinking too and disappearing, and all of our troubles disappearing and shrinking in size.
Yeah.
So I
love that.
Yeah. Well, I guess we need to talk about what is coming up tomorrow and what's coming up on the Psychic Talk Network radio. And I want to remind people, that, on Monday, tomorrow, April the 13th, we have two shows. We have at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, there's the Wisdom of the Soul show with host Janice Fuge, and that is followed by, at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, the Compassionate Light Healing and Guidance show with host Catherine Hahn, and she's going to be focusing on the abundance mind style. And then on Friday, April the 17th, at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, the Doctors Are In show will be on with the hosts Dr. Rose Wilkerson and Dr. Dax Carlisle. And their topic is going to be the 7 best techniques for overcoming fear, stress, and anxiety. And, of course, they'll have open lines all show long, and they'll be doing tarot mini readings. And, Mary, I want to let people know that you're going to be on the air next Saturday, April the 18th, which, by the way, that's my birthday, so I'm going to have to tune in to that.
Wow.
And
happy birthday.
Yeah, just dawned on
love
me.
It.
Yeah, April the 18th. And at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, you're going to be on, and you're with Dax Carlisle, and you're going to be talking about tarot correspondence and what we need to know about them. Is that maybe you can kind of fill us in on what exactly tarot correspondence are? I kind of know what they are, but I know a lot of our listeners might not know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so what it is like often when you're learning tarot and a lot of readers, use some of these as well. I use some of them, but correspondences. So it's like any other thing that corresponds with tarot meanings or tarot cards. So a lot of times we'll have astrological correspondences. We have numerological correspondences. We have the correspondence of the classic elements. We have color correspondences, the different colors in the cards. And people use these different systems to learn and use meanings for their tarot readings. A lot of times it's like you'll when you're first starting out especially, and most good tarot books are going to talk at least a little bit about correspondences. So you think of something like the Magician card, right? And the Magician card is connected to Mercury. That's like the astrological correspondence to it. It's connected to all the elements. It's connected to the number 1 and what the number 1 might mean. And so you have all of these different things, but then again, we'll use them and some people don't. You don't have to use them. It's not like there's only one way to do it. There's some people that use the correspondences that they find in the Kabbalistic tree of life to read tarot cards, where, the 22 paths of the tree of life, each one is represented by one of the major arcana cards. And so you use the 10 Sephiroth. There's people that read tarot in a lot of different ways, and some of them only do it by using correspondences. Dax, our CEO, Dax Carlisle, teaches a course on the Tarot Guild site called Tarot by the Numbers, where it's learning tarot using numerology. And so, but do we need them? Do we have to, a lot of people get into it and they're like, oh, I'm trying to learn tarot. Now I've got to learn astrology, and I've got to learn about the Kabbalah, and I've got to become a numerologist, and I've got to, it can be overwhelming. And it's like, you can just learn tarot. So there's ways to, learn the meanings of the cards and how to read them without, learning all these different correspondences. But for some people, they find those correspondences that they use, to really resonate with them. They find an authenticity to it. And so it's just another helpful way. But that's what we're going to be talking about. Like, do we really need them, and which ones, are the most accessible?
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on how you're wired, whether you're, clairvoyant, where you're looking at images, or are you triggered by words because you're clairaudient? Are you triggered by? I mean, we all have. Everybody is psychic. It's just that we do it different ways. And all of them are really correct. And we need all of them because it kind of like, it's like a flower garden. You want to have all the different colors. But, I teach tarot too. And I always tell people, it's a language. I generally start people always with the Rider Waite Smith deck. But, I say it's kind of like picture you're learning English, and these are words. And but how you put those words together, you can either put it together like Shakespeare, or you can put it together any way you want. And it's all you're supposed to do it differently. So you kind of it's kind of like you learn the rules, you learn how to do it, but what makes it beautiful is that you can go to 10 different tarot readers, and you want them to each read that card differently because you're tapping into what is unique to that reader.
Yeah, that's what I always say. Like, we set out to learn tarot, but in the process, we discover more about ourselves. We're taught a lot by studying it.
Yeah,
and part of what we're taught is what kind of reader we are. What works for somebody else may not be who you are as a reader. And I think that's what we discover. And I think that's a lot of times where the correspondences come into play as well for people. Because I think if I if I had started out an astrologist or astrologer, I probably using the astrological correspondences would have been like, wow, okay, I already know this. I just have to remember what's connected to what. And then you get a deck that has those symbols, the astrological symbols in it, like something like the Hermetic Tarot or something, and then, you're off to the races. So I think in some ways it's like, it's not that they're not important. I think they're kind of all important, but I think you're right. We do it differently.
Yep, and that's what makes it awesome. Yeah, that is a good thing. Well, I am looking at the clock, and you know what? I think we've covered a lot. We've given our listeners a lot to think about. So we are ready. Are you ready to do you think it's time for us to go to the ending part of our show, Mary? Is there anything else you want to add?
No, just that, I really, encourage everyone to, get their feet wet when it comes to crystals and start working with them. Create whatever kind of grid that you feel is going to be helpful to you, even if it's a shape that's not a classic shape. It's okay if it's just about, does it mean something to you? And have fun. They're fun to work with.
Yeah, be childlike, because children are very good at making their wishes come true and creating their future. That's why they're children. So I guess we need to remind everyone that you're going to be on next Saturday and with on your show, and you also do the show. You do there's a rock for that. So you're our rock star here on the PsychicTalk.net radio network. And I just want to remind everyone that I will be back with Magic Universe on Sunday, April the 26th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And my special topic for that date will be on doing vision boards. And it's a way that it's something that you can do while we're at home. It's creating a vision board, and they really work. And now we have another thing that we can add to them. We can also add pictures of crystals. So I'm going to definitely talk about that. So my topic will be vision boards. And, of course, there'll be open lines where you can call in. And I'll be also doing mini tarot readings live and on the air. So I guess I want to tell everyone that I am your magic mama, Sharonah Rapseik, and I just want to thank you, my special guest, Mary Brown. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much for having me on. I love this. This is so much fun to talk stones with you, because I know you get it. And, of course, I want to thank our listeners, too, because we wouldn't have a show if we didn't have any listeners joining us today. And like I do with every show, I remind people that we do live in a magical universe. It's just not the name of my show. We live in a magical universe. And to remember that even though we are going through some really challenging times, we're going to get through it, because I want you to focus on what is positive in your life, the good stuff. Because guess what happens? When you focus on what's positive, you are going to draw even more positive situations to yourself, and we're all interconnected. You're going to draw it to all of us. And that's because we do live in a magical universe. So I always tell people you want to keep your energy and vibrations high. And we know we can do that with crystals. We can do that a lot of ways. But crystals are a big help for keeping your vibrations high. And until we meet again in 2 weeks on
Sunday, April 26th. I want to tell everyone that I am wishing you a happy Easter, a happy Passover, and just countless blessings and good energy. And Mary, is there something you want to add to that before we sign off and say bye? You want to put some energy out there?
Absolutely. I just want to wish everyone who's listening now and will listen in archive later the brightest of blessings in this time when sometimes it seems cloudy. It's like, know that you are blessed. Know that you are having abundance in your life. It's
Definitely.
important to remember that.
Yep. So wishing everyone good energy and letting everyone know that I love you. And I love you, Mary. I love you, listeners.
Love you, Sharonah. Love you. Love
Bye,
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.